Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. We're back working on the Honda with the slipping clutch. Last time we took the clutch out of the bike, inspected it and put it straight back in, because that was not the problem. Join me today where I try to find the issue and see if we can fix it. Let's do it. So I've realized in the previous video I've put that metal clip in the wrong place. I'm just going to fix that quickly before I move on to the next thing. So the next thing I want to have a look at is the brake slave cylinder. When I flushed the fluid last time, the master cylinder was full of sludge, so I'm just wondering whether the slave cylinder is full of it and just can't back off, can't retract fully. And there we go. I haven't disconnected the hydraulic line yet, but look inside. It looks like it's been leaking for some time. That looks to me like just crystallized brake fluid and corrosion. Yeah, this thing looks pretty bad. It definitely needs some attention. And look inside, it's made quite a mess. That all needs cleaning up. And I'm trying to move it again by squeezing the clutch lever. And it does move, but I think it should be a little bit better than that. Alright, I've given the bike a bit of a clean, and I'm just going to use the lever now to push that piston out. And there it comes. I've got a tray to catch all the mess below. Well, that was not what I was expecting. It does look like it's been leaking, it could do with a clean, it does need some attention. But it's not really full of sludge or debris, so I'm not convinced we found our slipping clutch issue. So I've just put it back in so I can undo the hydraulic line, and I'm going to put a Ziploc bag over the hose just so it catches anything that's dripping. A bit of brake cleaner everywhere just to be safe. And might as well give that water pump a bit of a clean. Alright, now with the boring stuff, I'm just going to clean everything up. I'm removing the old seal off the piston, which doesn't look too bad to be fair. The one in the middle does look a bit battered, but that wouldn't cause much of an issue. Definitely doesn't cause a leak. And some more cleaning. Now I've just put all the bits in the ultrasonic cleaner. So since I'm doing this, I might as well give the master cylinder a clean. I'm just going to loosen all the bolts while it's still clamped on the bars, make it easier. And there's the lever coming off. And I'm undoing the hydraulic line as well. And the 2 pinch bolts, and off it comes. I just forgot to take off that clutch switch. And here's a closer look. Everything could do with a bit of a clean, but there's nothing obviously wrong that I could see yet. That boot there is completely perished. All that does is keep moisture, dust and debris out of the bore of the cylinder. I'm just going to start off by giving the lever a bit of a clean before I put it in the parts washer. Now take the cap off the reservoir. I don't expect this to be dirty because I've cleaned it last time. And there we go, just a bit of fluid inside. And here we are. I'm just going to fully disassemble it now and give it a proper clean. Last time I just wiped it while it's still on the bike. This time I'm going to put it in the parts washer and get it as clean as I can. Getting that circlip out of there was a bit of a pain. It was installed with the eyelets in the wrong place in my opinion. And here's the whole assembly coming out. Again, nothing obviously wrong at this stage. And the bore is fine. Could do with a bit of a clean right at the bottom. There might be a bit of debris, but overall it's pretty good. Right, so I've got the solid part, or as far as I want to go. And it's those 2 parts down there, especially the little one, that I was concerned about. Whether do they allow fluid to come back or not. And if I shine a light inside, looks like my battery's gone. You can see one of them pretty clearly. I can see the little one, it's just a faint light. It might not have been an issue, but still, since we're here, let's give it a good clean. Probably put new seals on this and put it all back together. And the top, of course, has been exposed to the elements, but again, that doesn't really affect the function of it. So as I've just mentioned, I was concerned about that small port being blocked. What that does is allow fluid to come back to the master cylinder or to the reservoir when you've completely let go of the lever. And it does not appear to be blocked. I was considering whether the whole system is still under pressure even when you let go of the lever, but that does not appear to be the case. So let's carry on cleaning. I'm going to put some grease right in the middle before I insert the seal. It goes in quite easily, just by hand. Now a very thin smear of red rubber grease on the outside. And now for the actual seal that keeps the fluid in. And it looks pretty nice. A very thin layer of grease on this as well. And I can put them together. It goes on quite easily. Now I'm going to wipe off any excess grease. I'm going to blow out any potential dust in the body of the cylinder before I put them together. A very, very thin layer of grease on the inside of the cylinder as well. Don't forget about the spring. And I'm just going to pop the cylinder in. And that was my compressor just switching on. What a pain. If Jim from Superbike Surgery would be with us, we would be hearing about it. So the slave piston seems to work a lot better. It moves so nicely now. That's quite satisfying. I'm just going to put some grease on the outside, just because it had some corrosion before. I'm going to put the bleed nipple in place as well, just hand tight. And the banjo bolt, just to keep any debris out. And now for the gasket. Again, there's the Honda part number if you need it. I'm just going to put a very thin smear of general purpose grease on both sides. And a bit of copper grease on the bolts. And a bit of grease on the stud, so it slides into the seal nicely. And some in the bore, just for corrosion protection again. And in it goes. I'm attaching the hydraulic line here. Unfortunately, once it's fully installed, I cannot get to it anymore. Now I'm just going to put the bolts in and torque them to spec. I forgot what that is. I think it's about 12 Newton meters. Now I don't have the correct torque wrench to fit in there and torque that banjo bolt, but I'm just going to do it by feel. And that feels like it's hot enough. We can have a better look at the master cylinder body now, and we can definitely see light shining through that little hole, so it's definitely not blocked now. And here's the Honda part number for the master cylinder rebuild kit. I've got all the bits out, and something doesn't quite look right. The first thing I notice is that hole through the seal. And also that plunger looks a bit smaller. And look at that, the plunger is definitely the wrong size and shape. I think they may have sold me the brake master cylinder rebuild kit, or maybe it's just for a different bike, I don't know. But it doesn't matter, I really want to put this together, and looking at the old seals, they don't look too bad. So let's give it a shot. Some red rubber grease again to help it go together. I will wipe off all the excess. And in goes the first seal. Gotta be careful that the lip doesn't twist when you push it in the bore, but it goes together quite easily. And now the second piece. And it seems to work fine. The rubber squeak will go away once it's full of fluid, but for now I didn't want to put too much grease on it, so it's fine. Time for the washer and circlip to go in. That was a lot easier than taking it out. Just double checking it's all seated, and the piston still moves fine. It's time for the lever to go back together. It cleaned up pretty nice. Now for the other two components, and it's ready to go back in the master cylinder. Just tighten the bolt and the lock nut, and we're good to go. It's all a bit exposed without that rubber bellow, but I don't tend to ride it in the rain, and I could add one later, so it's fine for now. Just look for the direction when you put this back together, and on the bike it goes. And torque up the bolts. These are the same as the slave cylinder ones. Reinstall the clutch switch. Hydraulic line. This time I can get a proper torque wrench in there. And the small metal clip. I think the only purpose of that is to stop brake fluid from squirting everywhere when you try and bleed it, or just generally use it. And now for some fresh fluid. Of course I made a mess. I should have cut that bit out. Alright, don't worry, I've cleaned everything up and it all looks pretty good. Let's start bleeding it. So the first thing I like to do is just move the lever tiny amounts, just to bleed the actual master cylinder first. You can see every time I touch it, little air bubbles come out, and that's going to happen for quite a long time. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to bleed it normally, just push fluid through to the slave cylinder. Once all the air is out and I'm happy, just put the cap back on, and it should be all ready to go. And that's it, I think we're done. Everything seems to be working as it should. Bleeding it took a bit longer than I've shown, of course. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to put the plastics back on and take it out on the road, see if it made any difference. Alright, so the Honda's right behind me. I took it for a good ride, and as you probably can imagine, I've made no significant improvement over the last 2 videos on it. The clutch is still slipping the same. It's a bit better when it's warm, slipping quite badly when it's cold. So there will probably be a 3rd video on it, not sure when yet, but I'm not sure what to try next. Could be springs, could be the clutch plates contaminated. They're not worn, but they could be contaminated and they're sleeping easier. I don't think it's the oil. I was considering whether the oil is not quite right for it. That's Castrol Power 1. But my best friend, who's got an identical bike, uses the same oil, and his is absolutely fine, so I don't think that's the issue. So yeah, whatever it is, we'll find out in a future video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.